Hello guys and welcome back. As you know, one of my favorite things to do is to find small brands that are doing amazing things and bring them to your attention. Most of the reason I want to do this is because small brands who are really trying to make a great product spend their money on making that product and not necessarily on marketing. You know, people who make amazing things are in a workshop trying to do their best to perfect their craft, not necessarily spending a ton of time with like Google ads or Facebook ads or Instagram or any of those places that you see advertising. So it's those companies though that I feel really make the best stuff, the ones that are concentrating on their product. And it's in that very spirit that I bring you this product review today. The company is called Cravar. The interesting thing about Cravar is that they're from Indonesia, down near Papua New Guinea. I mean, really a world away from where I live. So they do things a little bit differently down there in really unique and interesting ways. However, it's still familiar enough that you'll definitely recognize the bag. So this is it right here. And as you can see, it's not quite a briefcase. It's somewhere between a messenger bag and I'm not really sure. I mean, it seems to almost be a hybrid postal bag, a couple of different things in there, but they've definitely done some very nice work here, so let's get right into it with the construction. What we're looking at here is full-grain vegetable tanned leather, solid brass hardware, and a sunbrella lining. You may remember sunbrella from my Frank Clegg review, and it's an interesting product to use, but the whole idea of a lining of a bag is it's really about function over form. You know, I mean, when you put something in your bag and it's leaking or it's gonna scratch or something like that, you want something very durable that's water repellent, that can take the rigors of day-to-day use. Sunbrella is an excellent choice for that, and I'm seeing more and more companies beginning to use it. They use a bonded nylon 6.6 thread, and they also have the interesting feature of not having any hardware penetrate the inside of the bag. Now, when this becomes important is when you go to slide something into your bag. I have a MacBook Pro, a 15-inch, and I really don't want it to get damaged. I've been meaning to buy a case, but you know how that goes. So it's really comforting to know that when I slide it into this bag, it's not going to get banged around and scratched. It's an interesting feature that I haven't seen many other companies really address. All of the exposed leather edges are finished in beeswax, and edge finishing is one of the things that you can look at on any leather piece to see if the company's taking a lot of time and effort in putting out a great product. After all, it's a very labor-intensive process to finish the edges of leather. It takes a long time, and you know, it's something that can go overlooked. A lot of times you'll see companies that'll just stamp out leather, they'll stitch it together, they'll send it on down the way, and most people are none the wiser. However, when you see a nice finished leather edge, it makes all the difference. I want to talk about some of the unique things that make this bag so interesting and different, and just the stuff that I've noticed. So let's begin with the way it's actually stitched. Do you see how these edges here are sort of tucked and rolled? This is the same way that your clothing is made. Usually they'll actually sew it inside out, then flip it so you don't see any of the exposed seams. They've done the same thing here, and this is something you don't see on a lot of bags. Sometimes you will, but not that often. Most of the time it's exposed edges. So they've done that. They've actually tucked that in, and it makes for a nice soft edge and just a different look. I actually really like it. There are some exposed edges, as I mentioned, but all of those have been taken care with some nice edge finishing. Take a look at the way that they've attached the shoulder strap. Rather than putting it on with like a dog leash style clasp, they've actually used basically a buckle, like a belt buckle that goes back on itself. That's a really cool way to do it. It is adjustable, so you can change the length. But what an interesting way to attach it to the bag. I just thought that was really, really unique, and it's a cool look. And if you notice, there's no jingling and jangling of the sound of hardware. So if that's important to you, then this one's for you. I'll tell you one thing. When I put it on my passenger seat and I'm driving along, every now and then you'll get like a D-ring and one of those clasps just wiggling back and forth, and it drives you nuts. You don't get that with this. It's a small thing, but it's one of those things that makes it a real joy to carry. Now, you may also notice that the flap doesn't just come over in one piece. This is actually formed to be like a lid. So you can see that there's actually 4 corners here which go to the front flap, and then you open it up. Now, the con of this is that it doesn't just flap open like a piece of leather would where it folds back on itself. Due to the fact that it is tucked and there are edges, it goes back and it doesn't really want to like fall all the way back. So you can see that it kind of gets stuck there. That really just, it loosens up in time. I haven't really noticed a big difference because when you do open it, it will stay open so you can put whatever you want in there, then close it up. So it's not really deal breaker at all. It's just something that I notice most of the time when I open up a bag, you kind of throw the top over and it opens up and then you can just throw it back. Now that feature is actually what makes it really nice, because when you stuff this thing full, you have full coverage over the top. And as it comes down on the side here, I mean, you really have pretty good weather protection, which is an interesting thing to say about a leather bag. Most of the time we don't think of being protected from the elements, but anything that may be falling down will not make its way in. A lot of times with one flap over the edge, you have an open space on the side. And I don't know if that drives anybody else crazy, but it is nice to have it covered. So that's really interesting. And you can see that they've actually used nice leather to finish off the edges here. Just a lot of things that are a little bit different that make this a unique bag that, you know, I haven't really seen anything quite like it. So this is that sunbrella fabric that I was telling you about. Now, again, this is an awning fabric. It's meant to be durable and water resistant. They've used this really cool dark red color. And I've seen this in gray and in white and in black, but they've chose to use this color, and it's really pretty cool. I like it because it's a rich looking bag. The red on the inside just sets it off. If this was almost any other color, it would look pretty run-of-the-mill, but again, just being a little bit different, they went with that red, and it's really, really cool. They've actually lined everything in this. So there's 2 pockets in the front. They've also lined those in sunbrella fabric, so everything is lined, everything's protected, and as I mentioned, there's no hardware penetrating on the inside to scratch any of your stuff. So you can put your camera, your phone, your hard drives, anything you want in here, and rest assured that they won't get scratched up. They gave you a nice big oversized shoulder pad with some really decent padding in there. You know, some companies will skimp out on the padding. They'll just give you basically a leather flap here. They've put some very nice padding in there. Enough that, you know, it spreads it out over your shoulder when you are carrying it like this, and you don't really notice it that much. It's one of those features that you may not look for when you're buying the bag, but when you start using it, you're really glad that it's there. Now this also has a strap on the back, and I've seen this on a couple of other models too, that will go over your luggage. So you could put the handle of your rollaway luggage through there and basically walk through the airport with this thing, you know, hanging onto your luggage. It's nice because you don't have to worry about carrying several bags. Let's say you have a weekender, your bag with your laptop and stuff, and then your rollaway stuff with all of your clothing in it. It's nice to be able to just have 2 hands and know you have everything. So that's there, and they've done something really cool here too, if they put a little magnet in there, and the magnet will keep that shut, so it's not flapping around back there. Behind that strap, you'll see something that I always look for in my bags, and that's one external pocket. Most of the reason that I like that is because when you're going through the airport, or even when you're in the car, it's nice to have something that you can reach into without even looking at it to grab, say, your passport, or, you know, if you put something in there like a snack or your phone or just anything that you need to have at a moment's grasp, you could put it in that outside pocket. And that's nice. They've given you a full length back pocket on here. Well done, Cravar. Really, that is something that I've always liked on every bag, and I'm so glad that they did that. Now you'll also notice that they've used some big pieces of leather here. It's not little pieces all stitched together, and you know, I know that's kind of one of those things that some companies will use, not naming names, but some companies will use as a selling point. I've actually never seen leather just blow apart, unless it's complete garbage, and in which case, you bought a garbage bag, what do you expect? But they have used some big pieces of leather here, and finding good cuts of decent leather is more difficult than finding small cuts of good leather. So this whole section that wraps around the outside here is one big section of leather. It seems like they've done that throughout. Even on the front here, these aren't 2 separate pieces of leather which make up the front pockets. It's one which then goes in and is riveted to the bag itself. So where they could, they've used one big section of leather. So those are the things that may go overlooked if you're not really, you know, somebody who looks at bags all the time, but it's nice to have, and it makes just a more seamless, streamlined, and classy design. Now let's talk for a second about the closure of this bag, the way that you actually secure it down. This has brass studs here. Now, I've always preferred a buckle or a clasp of some sort where there's a mechanical, you know. When I saw this, I was thinking, how secure is it really? But the way that they've done this is actually very, very clever, just like the rest of the bag, so let me kind of walk you through it. They've put this retainer right after the stud, so even if you get that, you know, caught on something or whatever, it cannot lift off of that stud. And if you were to try to open that up, I'm not going to try to force it open right now, it's very difficult to do. Enough so that I was like, okay, I'm sold. So how do you actually get it open if you can't just go like that? You got to take the top and you have to pull that down off of the stud, and then you can release it. But it's a really interesting way to close the bag up. And again, it's just something that works really well and is a little bit different than what you normally see. Again, I really appreciate a lot of these little unique approaches that Cravar went with. Now these straps do go the full length around the bag. They actually go through the back here and down there. So when you're picking this up and carrying it, those straps are actually holding the load. It's not really the bottom of the leather being bulged out. If you have something really heavy in there, those full straps are really holding everything together. So you can rest assured that it's not going to go anywhere. My major problem with the messenger style bag is most of the time, traditionally, they don't have a top handle. There's no way to actually grab it. When it's sitting on your passenger seat, you want to just grab it and go. You have to sort of grab it, you know what I mean, like this. And if it's heavy, you can't really get a good purchase on that thing. So I'm happy to say that they went with a small padded handle in the back here. So when you go to grab it, there's actually something to hold on to. It is substantial enough that you could use that as your main method of carrying this if you're not a fan of the shoulder strap. But I'm really happy to see when brands put a lot of thought into the way that something is going to be used. Something can look great and, you know, the form over function thing, I get it, you know, it's all about aesthetic. But when you actually have to use something and you want to actually use it as your bag every single day to carry your laptop, your lunch, your camera, whatever it is, it has to perform the task without giving you any problems. So when you go to grab it, there should be a handle there. And there is on this, so that's really, really nice. The last thing that I want to touch on, I know I've gone over a lot of these little features and little things that they do, little quirks, is this brass hardware. This brass hardware is unlike anything I've ever seen. It almost looks like it came straight out of a workshop. It's sort of rough. Not to the touch. There's no rough edges on there, nothing that's going to cut you. But you can see where there's like the marks that they've made it with. And it's intentional. It's not just a neglected thing that they, you know, forgot to finish off or smooth. This is the way it is. And I really, really like it. It adds a rugged element. You know, these buckles here, they're very small and there's not a whole lot of hardware on here, but the hardware that is there is nicely antiqued. And I really like the fact that they went with that look. It looks very old world. It looks like something that you maybe had made by one guy in a shop in a small town somewhere. Very well done. I'm really actually very pleased with that brass hardware. It's something that I kind of wish companies would embrace more, is more of that rugged aesthetic. Maybe not everything has to be beautifully tapered, like, you know, some sort of modern art piece. Maybe it can look like it just came out of a craftsman shop. So I really like that about this. Again, solid brass hardware, all that stuff that you want. This also comes with a lifetime guarantee. Now that's not the Saddleback 100-year guarantee, which is just a marketing ploy. A lifetime guarantee. So if you have this, you can use it from, you know, age 16 throughout your entire working career without any worries. They'll take care of you. A lifetime guarantee is a nice thing to have on an investment piece. How much of an investment is it though? I mean, really, you look at all this cool stuff and you say, that's great, it looks beautiful, nice stuff. But if it comes in too expensive, well, then there's a lot of options out there. That's the reason that I really wanted to show you this bag, because I think it's a tremendous value. This model is called the FC. This is the 15-inch version, so it's the most expensive version. This comes in at $379. They also have a 13-inch version. They also have a couple of briefcases, a few different things that are all within the same price range. So it's not breaking the bank $500, $600 stuff. We're talking well in the realm of a lot of other stuff which does not have nearly the list of great qualities that this does. So amongst a sea of briefcases, which all sort of look the same, I've tried out dozens and dozens of them. It's nice to see a company that's doing things a little bit differently. Now, we did have to go halfway across the world to Indonesia, but it's nice to see that the people over there really know about quality craftsmanship. And again, I've said it in videos past, but I'll state it again. It doesn't matter the origin of the bag, where it came from geographically, because they make great stuff here, they make garbage here, they make great stuff in China, they make garbage in China. It depends on the maker themselves. Because I'm convinced that across the world there's amazing craftsmanship going on, and it's evident in this bag right here. Indonesia, you're doing some great stuff. So check them out, Cravar. There'll be a link in the description below if you want to go check them out. A little bit different, a little bit avant-garde, but in all ways that are very thoughtful and ways that I think you'll like. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it, and I'll catch you next time.